Everyone loves an underdog billionaire story. A scruffy, brilliant kid who built an empire and changed the world.
The FTX founder is now worth an estimated $11 billion.
The Michael Jordan of crypto, if you will.
But this is not that story.
Today, Sam Bankman-Fried, founder and former CEO of crypto exchange FTX, is facing criminal...
This is the story of a $32 billion exchange that vanished almost overnight. The greatest crypto financial disaster of our time. The rise and fall of FTX. He is Tom Brady, the most decorated quarterback in NFL history.
What the hell do these people know?
Looking at the greatest right there.
Alongside his then-wife Gisele, he invested tens of millions into FTX and became the face of its ad campaigns.
Hey, are you sure?
Not a trade, I'm trading crypto. FTX is the safest and easiest way to buy and sell crypto. It's the best way to get in the game.
Just trading crypto. Oh.
For millions of fans, Brady's trust in the exchange was all the reassurance they needed. But when FTX collapsed, his equity instantly became worthless. He was pulled into lawsuits and left stunned. In later interviews, Brady admitted it was very tough and said the fallout taught him hard lessons. Tom Brady's story is just one example, but it captures the shock of FTX's fall. Even the world's most successful athletes, with teams of advisors and access to the best information, were blindsided. And if someone like Brady could be swept up in the hype, what chance did ordinary investors ever have? Sam Bankman-Fried's story didn't begin in the chaos of crypto. It began in California. He was born in 1992 to Joseph Bankman and Barbara Fried, both Stanford law professors. His childhood was shaped by academics and debate. Growing up in the heart of Silicon Valley, he was surrounded by ideas, arguments, and ambition. Friends described him as highly intelligent, but socially awkward. The kind of kid more comfortable with math problems than small talk, eventually earning a spot at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. At MIT, he studied physics, but he was drawn less to labs and experiments, and more to puzzles of logic and probability. After graduating in 2014, Sam joined Jane Street Capital, a prestigious Wall Street trading firm. There, he worked on complex arbitrage strategies, buying and selling assets across different markets to capture small but consistent profits. It was at Jane Street that Sam built his reputation as a brilliant problem solver, but he was also restless. Traditional finance with its rules and limits didn't satisfy him. By 2017, crypto markets were exploding. To Sam, this new frontier was chaotic. But in chaos, he saw opportunity. He left Wall Street, and in doing so, began the path that would lead to both his rise and his spectacular fall. By 2017, Sam Bankman-Fried left Jane Street and launched a new venture, Alameda Research. The name sounded like a quiet California think tank, but in reality it was a crypto trading firm built to exploit inefficiencies in the wild new world of digital assets. The timing couldn't have been more perfect. Bitcoin was surging, Ethereum was on the rise, and crypto markets were volatility. Sam spotted an opportunity, the so-called kimchi premium, where Bitcoin sold higher in places like Japan or South Korea than in the United States. Alameda made millions by buying low and selling high across borders. When Sam Bankman-Fried launched Alameda Research, he wasn't starting from scratch. His parents were both prominent Stanford law professors, well connected in elite academic and political circles. Those ties, along with Sam's involvement in the Effective Altruism community, gave him unusual access to early backers. Instead of raising money from Wall Street or Silicon Valley VCs, Sam turned to philanthropists who believed in the idea of earning to give. Reports named Jan Tallinn, co-founder of Skype, who is said to have loaned Alameda over $100 million worth of Ether. Sam had tens of millions in seed money before Alameda even placed its first trades. Success bred more confidence. Profits and credibility attracted new rounds of funding. And by 2018 to 2019, Alameda was managing well over $100 million, eventually claiming access to around $170 million in total. Alameda wasn't a traditional firm. Its headquarters in Berkeley looked more like a college dorm than a finance office. Employees worked insane hours, fueled by caffeine, video games, and a sense that they were pioneers in a new financial frontier. Sam hired people he knew. Gary Wang, his MIT friend and ex-Google engineer, Nishad Singh, a young ex-Facebook developer, and Carolyn Ellison, a Stanford math major and former Jane Street colleague who would become both Alameda's CEO and Sam's girlfriend. For a while it looked unstoppable, but even in these early days, cracks were forming. Risk controls were loose, strategies were aggressive, and the lines between personal relationships and business decisions were dangerously blurred. By 2019, Sam Bankman-Fried was ready for his next act, and he launched a new company, FTX. The idea was simple. While Alameda focused on trading, FTX would be the exchange, a marketplace for everyone else. FTX was built by traders, for traders. It offered complex products like perpetual futures, options, tokenized stocks, and massive leverage that competitors struggled to match. In just 2 years, FTX went from a tiny startup to one of the world's top exchanges. By early 2022, its valuation soared to $32 billion. Investors couldn't get in fast enough. Sequoia Capital, SoftBank, Tiger Global, Temasek, Paradigm poured in hundreds of millions. They compared Sam Bankman-Fried to Mark Zuckerberg, the awkward, brilliant outsider who might change the financial world forever. Sequoia went so far as to publish a glowing profile describing Sam playing video games during a pitch meeting. Rather than being alarmed, they praised it as a sign of genius multitasking. They invested $200 million and called FTX one of the most important companies of the decade. FTX went on a marketing spree to cement itself in the public imagination. The company bought the naming rights to the Miami Heat Arena, now called the FTX Arena. They cut deals with celebrities and athletes. Tom Brady and Gisele Bündchen became brand ambassadors. Everywhere you looked, FTX was there. And at the centre of it all was Sam. He branded himself as the anti-CEO, a nerd too busy saving the world to care about appearances. He talked endlessly about effective altruism, promising to give away most of his fortune to charity.
Plans to give most of his fortune away.
Who you see next to me is the most generous billionaire in the world.
Do you have a sense of how much of your fortune you'd be willing to give away in the end?
In the end, I think almost all of it, right? Like, I'm not particularly excited to dive into luxury. I'm not excited about yachts.
Sam appeared on the covers of Fortune and Forbes. He was hailed as the one man regulators could trust. But behind the glamour, the actual problem remained. Alameda and FTX were never truly separate, and that connection would eventually tear everything apart. For years, FTX looked untouchable, a $32 billion empire backed by the biggest names in venture capital. But in early November 2022, everything unraveled. In just a matter of days, the first domino fell on November 2nd, 2022. Crypto news site CoinDesk published a bombshell article. It revealed a leaked balance sheet from Alameda Research. On paper, Alameda looked strong, holding billions in assets. But the details told a different story. A huge portion of its balance sheet, more than $5 billion, wasn't in dollars, Bitcoin, or stablecoins. It was in FTT, the token created by FTX itself. This meant Alameda's strength was an illusion. Its foundation rested on a token whose value depended entirely on confidence in FTX. If the market lost faith in FTT, the whole structure could collapse. The revelation shook the crypto world. And just 4 days later, the situation exploded. On November 6th, Changpeng Zhao, better known as CZ, the CEO of Binance and FTX's biggest rival, tweeted that Binance would liquidate its holdings of FTT, worth hundreds of millions of dollars. He cited recent revelations and risk management. That single tweet sent shockwaves. Traders panicked. If Binance didn't trust FTT, why should anyone? The price of FTT began to slide. Within hours, customers rushed to withdraw their funds from FTX. It was a digital bank run. Billions of dollars were demanded in withdrawals, far more than FTX could actually cover. Behind the scenes, Sam and his executives knew the truth. Customer deposits had been quietly siphoned to Alameda, where they were used for risky bets, venture investments, and political donations. The money simply wasn't there. On November 7th, Sam tried to calm the storm. He tweeted, "FTX is fine, assets are fine." He assured the public that withdrawals were processing normally, but inside FTX, things were crumbling. The exchange had a hole in its balance sheet, somewhere between $8 and $10 billion missing. The very next day, November 8th, came another twist. Sam announced that FTX had reached an agreement for Binance to acquire the exchange and help cover liquidity issues. For a moment, it looked like a lifeline. Headlines declared a shocking rescue deal. The two biggest rivals in crypto were about to merge. But within 24 hours, the deal was dead. Binance pulled out after seeing FTX's internal numbers, declaring the problems were beyond our ability to help. Confidence evaporated completely. By November 9th, withdrawals were frozen. Users couldn't access their money. The token that had propped up the empire, FTT, had collapsed from over $20 to just a few dollars in a matter of days. As panic spread, the contagion hit the broader crypto market. Bitcoin and Ethereum crashed. Other exchanges saw heavy withdrawals. Billions in value vanished from the industry overnight. On November 11th, 2022, Sam Bankman-Fried resigned as CEO.
FTX filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, the company's controversial chief executive, Sam Bankman-Fried, resigning as CEO and will remain to assist in an orderly transition.
FTX, Alameda Research, and over 130 affiliated companies filed for bankruptcy protection in the United States. The empire was gone. In less than 10 days, FTX had gone from one of the largest crypto exchanges in the world to a bankrupt shell with over 1 million creditors and billions missing. The scale of the disaster was staggering. Customers lost savings. Investors wrote their holdings down to zero. Lawsuits piled up. And regulators around the world finally woke up to the risks that had been ignored for too long. Sam, once hailed as the Mark Zuckerberg of crypto, was now being compared to Bernie Madoff. The speed of the collapse stunned even seasoned Wall Street veterans. Empires usually die slowly, over years of decline. FTX died in a week. The collapse of FTX ended Sam Bankman-Fried's meteoric rise almost overnight. In December 2022, he was arrested in the Bahamas and extradited to the US, charged with fraud, conspiracy, and money laundering. His closest allies, Caroline Ellison, Gary Wang, and Nishad Singh, pleaded guilty and testified against him. In November 2023, Sam was found guilty on all counts. Once hailed as the face of crypto, he now faces decades in prison. The fallout stretched far beyond him. Investors lost billions, celebrities like Tom Brady and Steph Curry were dragged into lawsuits, and ordinary customers are still fighting in court to recover their savings. Today, the empire is gone, and it wasn't the first time a financial empire collapsed in weeks. Back in 1995, a young trader named Nick Leeson brought down one of Britain's oldest banks almost overnight. His story is just as shocking. Watch that disaster here. Subscribe the channel if you liked our video, and don't miss our next video.